If what is being projected is true, this is yet another example of collateral damage from the actions that have been taken in a provocative way by the President of the United States.
All right, Congresswoman blaming essentially the downing of this plane on Donald Trump and his provocative action. She was not the only one. 2020 presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg tweeting this: innocent civilians are now dead because they were caught in the middle of an unnecessary and unwanted military tit for tat. My thoughts are with the families and loved ones of all 176 souls lost aboard this flight. Now, are some Democrats going too far on this argument, back and forth and back and forth? Let's get the read right now from our panelists, the Democratic strategist Kathy Abreu, Independent Women's Forum Patrice Onwuka, and the Daily Caller's Vince Collanes. Kathy, I think it is a leap to then cite and focus on the president as bringing down a passenger jet that it looks like the Iranians were responsible for, if even accidentally. Even you would have to be a tad offended by that.
I would be offended by that. I mean, the first day we said that there were going to be consequences to President Trump's actions, and these are the consequences to bombing a leader of a sovereign nation in another sovereign nation in the Middle East.
So, Kathy, are you saying, let me be clear, I will get to that. If you had the intelligence and wherewithal and you were President Kathy Abreu of the United States and your top officials were telling you, we have this guy, we know this guy's killed hundreds of Americans, thousands of Iraqis, he's upset the apple cart in Syria, we have him in our sights, we could take him out, you would say no?
Well, now I'm hearing that the President of the United States has killed hundreds of people.
That's not what I'm asking you. That's not what I'm asking you. If you knew this in advance, you're blaming a plane crash on the fact after the fact and pegging it to him.
This man is responsible for the consequences of killing one of 20,000 people that want to kill Americans. This is not
Vince, I love Kathy to death, but there is no way any rational person could step back from that, no matter what you think of the president. I'm just thinking that if you are looking at actions that happen in a state of a conflict when you take out a lethal enemy and then blaming it on the person who took out that lethal enemy, then all bets are off as far as this country in the future.
Yeah, you don't blame the guy who punched the thug back for attacking somebody else. It's ridiculous. And Kathy, to say that the president of the United States killed 176 people when it was a Russian missile fired by the Iranians in Tehran that took that jet down is ridiculous. That's some sort of ayahuasca cross-eyed galaxy brain take that tries to connect all sorts of things that should not be connected. This is the Iranians shooting down a passenger jet, and the only reason why anyone in Washington is taking up the position that Trump is responsible.
Patrice, I'm just wondering, maybe to settle this here. Do you think that the provocative acts of the president, because Kathy is the only one saying, obviously some of these Congress men and women are, that alone is what's responsible for the downing of this jet?
No. The responsibility lies with whoever shot those missiles, and all of the evidence points to Iran. Now, let's not forget when in 2011, when President Obama and the U.S. military took out Osama bin Laden, who General Petraeus has said was even more, was not even as dangerous as General Soleimani. You know, there was cheering, including from Jackie Spears, who released a very applaudatory statement on her website. So right now, the difference between President Trump and President Obama in these two instances is politics, and that is a dangerous position to be playing when we're talking about the lives of our American soldiers and our American personnel serving overseas.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Bush tried to take out Osama bin Laden. The entire world wanted to take out Osama bin Laden. We saw those two towers fall. The entire world was with us. Everyone wanted Osama bin Laden. Everyone cheered when that man was killed. I didn't see the whole world cheer when this
Kathy,
person,
could you answer me a question honestly here? And I'm not playing politics with this. If Barack Obama had taken this guy out and had the opportunity this president did to take him out, and he did, would you be as offended at that as you are now at this president?
If Barack Obama did it and didn't have an explanation and gave a 15-minute speech on a MAGA hat the night before at a rally,
that's a lot of backpedaling.
I'm begging you not to play cheap politics on either side. If Barack Obama had done this for the same reasons that the president outlined here to do it, would you have been whining to the degree you are right now?
I am not whining, but I didn't see a plane being shot down after
See,
Barack
you're doing the
Obama
after the fact
took
stuff.
out
So
Osama bin
Vince,
Laden.
see, this is where it gets a cheap debate here. Vince, what I'm seeing here
it's
is
not
like,
cheap.
you know, when people play politics with this, just as saying,
Why?
Yeah,
Why was
Kathy,
this person taken out?
wait, Vince.
Okay.
What I see if the situation here is something that really, really is bad, really, really is awful. The consequences of trying to deal with terror. But if you're afraid of the consequences that might develop from the enemy you seek out in battling that terror, you will always have terrorists win.
There's no mystery to
Soleimani. Vince, go ahead.
There's no mystery to how evil Soleimani was. And for anybody in Washington to pretend otherwise has been the most ridiculous news cycle I think we've experienced in 2020. And it's a young year. This is the reality. Soleimani is responsible for at least the death of 600 American troops and maiming thousands more in Iraq, many of whom now have to live with lifelong scars as a result of those injuries. It is ridiculous to claim that Soleimani was one anonymous figure that we killed off. This was one of the world's most evil bad guys. We took him out given the opportunity. The president says he had it. And by the way, imagine the news cycle. If Soleimani had survived, if we never took the shot and more Americans had ended up dying and that became a New York Times story, boy, imagine the news cycle we'd have in Washington as people blame President Trump for missing a strike that he should have taken.
Well, and Neil, can I just say that can I just say that the president has not escalated the situation. Iran has been escalating since 2016, and we've seen the Obama administration respond to that escalation with weakness, with plane loads of money, $1.3 billion of dollars.
I love you dearly as well, but I mean, just as offensive if he starts citing this is all the cause of Barack Obama. Now is not the time for any administration either blame the predecessor, talk about the predecessor. I get that. I know what happens and how it seeps into this, but the fact of the matter is this guy is dead. You get the consequences that sometimes are very controversial, very, very awful, but a bad guy is done and gone.
That's
his
right.
deputy took his place, though. His deputy took his place, so a bad guy's right there where he was.
What happened after Osama bin Laden was taken out? They're like cockroaches, more emerge. Does that mean you don't take out the bad guy at the beginning? Do you just stop fighting because you're afraid of the consequences of what might happen? Do you stick your head under a bed and say, I don't want to look at what I might do, the alternative, what it might be?
We haven't had another 9/11, and I fear that we will have another 9/11 thanks to this action.
No. With your posture, you'd never take on anyone for fear of the reprisal. You might as well go ahead and just give a gift to the terrorists and say, do what you want to do whenever you want to do it.
No, there's consequences.
Neil, isn't attacking our U.S. embassy considered U.S. soil? I mean, from what we understand, the latest intelligence is that these Iranians, these folks had actually breached and come very close to the U.S. embassy.
I don't have to play right or left with it. I'm old enough to remember when the Iranians seized our embassy in Tehran 40 years ago. It didn't end well, and it went on for a long, long time. We ought to do our best to make sure it doesn't again. I want to thank you all. Sorry to get preachy. We'll have more after this.